views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello, welcome to Open, the show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm Daren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll discuss all things law with David Lesch, who will be in studio with us. Afterwards, we'll sit with an award-winning New York City filmmaker and founder of the Validate Yourself Film Festival. Next, we'll learn more about Like Minded People, a network founded on the passion of growing a self-reliant community of diverse, talented individuals. And after that, we'll find out more about Girl Boss, a networking event for women to connect and get inspired. That's taking place next month. Then Jumpstart for a Day is an annual festival celebrating literacy. We'll learn more about it a little bit later on in the show. And then lastly, Loyal Baptist Church presents their upcoming event, Call to Lead, Keys to Becoming an Effective Leader, a conference organized to help those in leadership. So stay tuned because all this and much more is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, March 27th, and you're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to you. We also want to welcome our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast live simultaneously on MNN's channel. You can stay connected to us via Twitter at BronxNet TV and on Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, a lot has certainly been going on through the past week. We'll take you through it now with some Bronx updates. On Saturday, community members and artists held a rally against It's the Bronx Festival in art washing across from the Union Building, across the street from the Union Building in the South Bronx. Now, our BronxNet cameras were there to cover the story and bring you now the report.
Bronx, we have so many creative people, and I know there's never been done. Something this scale that we're planning on doing has never been done, and I said, you know what, we can do it.
It's the Bronx has been under fire following an investigation by a grassroots Bronx-based collective called Hydropunk, which released accusations of gentrification, displacement, and art washing, igniting a social media tirade involving organizers, artists, and the community. A rally against the event was held across the street from the Union Crossing building.
They're rebranding our culture. They're commodifying our struggle. Hustle is nothing to be glamorized. We hustle because this society limits us from progressing, and we need to find alternate ways to survive. Do not commodify the hustle. That is not funny. Don't brand our culture.
Take Back the Bronx is joining with other groups just like Hydro as comrades to fight against the violent displacement, the gentrification that's been taking place in the Bronx for several years. They do it in numerous sneaky ways, and one of them is by coercing a lot of our black and brown artists. They use them and abuse them and take their art and encourage others to come in. They take their talent, don't pay them for it, and they take our spaces.
BronxNet showcased many talented artists, musicians, panelists, and local businesses who performed and participated in the preview event and were slated to take part in the It's the Bronx Festival. Some of those artists continue to support the event on social media, while others, like muralist Natalie Lucre, joined Hydropunk in sharing their testimonies in opposition of ITB founder Marco Schauma.
I was asked to paint a mural for the event space Union Crossing. It was below freezing temperatures. I painted for over 10 hours, and at the end of the day, my other partner, who was painting a mural, called me and told me that the event was not taking place, so we wasted our time to do it for no reason. I'm OSHA certified, so I know for a fact that this construction site is not supposed to be entered by anyone who isn't a construction worker or certified to be there. We were breathing in silica dust. Luckily, I had my face mask because I know better, but the other artists were not educated.
Participants of the rally voiced their concerns and marched to Hunts Point in solidarity with Hydropunk. The Grassroots Collective has been hosting local events, educational workshops, and charity drives for the community since 2014.
This April, we'll be focusing more on education and highlighting the groups that have been working in the Bronx before us, and highlighting and creating these resources to make it accessible.
I would like the artists to know that we have a network of spaces that have given us residency, such as La Morada and the Bronx Beer Hall. These businesses are here for you. And at the Andrew Freeman Home, we will be there to hold all art and cultural institutions in the Bronx accountable for not providing accessible resources. We are a grassroots organization. We are not a nonprofit institution. If they don't want to help them, then we will. And we are going to do what we can to create community unity and empowerment, because the Bronx is beautiful, and that is what we're about.
You have to make sure that you create your own spaces. And there are ways to do that. There are spaces where you can gather and other organizations that you can look for. There are a lot of young people that are super talented and have had to create and try to monetize their skill set outside of the system that exists.
The Andrew Friedman Home, scheduled to host It's the Bronx, has recently released a letter informing the public about their decision to withdraw. In order to keep the conversation going, the Andrew Friedman Home will open its doors to the public for a discussion on the arts and social responsibility in April. Dates will be released soon. BronxNet is reaching out to It's the Bronx and will continue to provide ongoing coverage of this developing story. Reporting for BronxNet, Sanji Lopez.
And thank you, Sanjay. As we get closer to April, of course, our BronxNet cameras will continue to cover this story and more. In other news, in local politics, Congressman Jose Serrano will not be seeking re-election in 2020. This comes after the representative of the 15th Congressional District announced his retirement, revealing that he has Parkinson's disease. In explaining his decision, Serrano says Parkinson's will eventually take a toll. Serrano is 75 years old and has been a member of the U.S. House of Representatives since 1990, making him the longest-serving Hispanic American in the House. Throughout his career, Congressman Serrano has worked on revitalizing the Bronx River, bringing billions of federal dollars to the Bronx, expanding access for the ballot to the ballot for language minorities, and increasing STEM for resources for minority students. Congressman Jose Serrano's retirement is sure to bring about a competitive race for the seat in the New York Democratic primaries. Of course, stay tuned as we'll bring you all the candidates right here on BronxNet. Well, that's all we have for the Bronx Updates. Stay with us. We've got more show coming up right after this. And welcome back. We want you to pay attention to this very next segment. Fraud is an unlawful gain of depriving victims of a legal right. Now, the most recent controversial fraud involved parents facing federal racketeering charges in a college admissions scandal. Today, we're discussing the various types of fraud, and here to help us understand the consequences of lying or omitting on information, whether it's a job application or more, is attorney and host of Today's Verdict, David Lesch. And David, good to have you.
Nice to see you, Darren. Fraud has been all over the news lately. It's not just been the college scandal. There's been issues about Jesse Smollett, Michael Avenatti yesterday. That does involve fraud as well, because it involves whether or not he took some of his clients' monies and used it for his own personal gain. And I want to talk to you a little bit about let's talk about Smollett for a second, and maybe your
Just
thoughts
Smollett.
on it. Okay, because I know you've had some opinions on it. I've read about some of the things on it. You know, interestingly, it looks like charges were dropped, and I think, and you tell me if you think I'm wrong here, but I think the charges were probably dropped because his argument was that his communication with the trainers might have been misinterpreted. In other words, he might have said something to the effect of, you know, I'm not loving it on the show so much, I'm not really getting the respect, and that might have translated into like, I wish they may have done more for me, they may have taken it the wrong way, they may have joked about this type of incident occurring, and it actually did occur, and he said, look, it was just a misinterpretation, this wasn't supposed to happen. That's not fraud. You know, that's fraud is an element of fraud is the mens rea, it's the intent. It's how you go into a situation, it's how you think. If you're going in with the intent, you're purposely trying to create a situation that is defrauding either the government or defrauding investors, stockholders, colleges. That's the element you need to prove fraud. If there's a mistake that is made, a miscommunication, well, that's really more negligence. It could be more towards reckless. So I guess,
But it's still criminal.
it's still criminal. So I guess, well, what do you think in terms of the Jussie Smollett issue?
Right.
I mean, do you? There are no more charges now.
There are no more charges.
So the
charges
issue
were
is,
dropped.
so do you think there was a mens rea? In other words, there was an intent on his part, or do you just think it was just a a mistake?
Interestingly enough, I don't know. You know, that's why I said on my Facebook page, you have to know all the facts.
Right,
first.
that's
But
what I read.
One of the things that came out was that these young men were training him, right?
Yeah.
And so they were also paid to do some training
That's
with
right.
him, which I think in your argument mixes up a little bit the whole
Correct.
intent and fraud. So you can't necessarily charge somebody with fraud
That's
when
right.
you've got that element mixed in,
Let me
right?
give you another example in terms of the mens rea. So I have a buddy of mine. We usually have brunch together. He has the same exact credit card that I have. And we always put it down. We split the bill. Well, sometimes I end up signing his sheet, and he ends up signing mine. Just we sign it, and we don't even realize it till later on. The charge comes. It's maybe a little bit different or something. And, well, there's no intent.
Right.
You know, I signed my name on his bill. He signed his name on my bill. Well, that's not fraud. That's really more of a misinterpretation. So the mens rea is really the most important thing, and that it has to do with college scandal. If Lori Loughlin or any of the parents are saying, well, they didn't realize or they didn't understand the consequences. They just thought that, well, this is what's usually done. It's not fraud. Everybody, they talk to college counselors. They make it seem like their children are better athletes than they really are. Everybody does that in life. Everybody tries to puff themselves up. Well, that would be a defense. So when we talk about a weak one, but it is a defense. A lot of times people would have thought if Jussie Smollett said, well, you know what, they're training me, and I cut checks for them for personal services, for personal training, they just misinterpreted and they decided to beat me up and make it look that, to give me personal gain, you would say, well, that's a weak one too. But many times these defenses do work. So I guess when we're talking about fraud, the most important thing we have to really talk about, whether it's insurance fraud and you're making believe your injury is worse than it is, credit card fraud and you're using somebody else's credit card and you get caught, identity theft, which goes hand in hand with credit card. It's all about the intent.
Now, talk about consequences. We got to get to consequences.
Well, consequences, look, there's criminal consequences and there's civil consequences. Criminal consequences has nothing to do with you and I. That's brought by the government. That's brought by the district attorneys. That's brought by the attorney general or whomever. And that is always beyond a reasonable doubt. Right? And that's the level that you have to prove that somebody had the mens rea of the intent to commit fraud. Securities fraud, Avenatti. With Lori Loughlin in the scandal, it would be the IRS, to defraud the IRS and to show that she was really taking off charitable deductions that she knew really weren't charity deductions. They were really to get her child into school. So that's beyond a reasonable doubt. But let's say you and I, want to sue, I don't know, Enron because of fraud that was going on in the company. Well, that wouldn't be by beyond a reasonable doubt. That could be by clear and convincing evidence, by a preponderance. These are different elements that you have to prove different thresholds where you'd have to prove this high to get beyond a reasonable doubt to get somebody convicted, to make a felony, Avenatti, let's say, or Smollett could be a felony or a misdemeanor. You wouldn't have to do that if you were suing the individual, company that took your credit card and gave it out to the world by accident. Let's say it was Target or someone else. That could be by a preponderance. So the penalties would be different. Criminal penalties, depend on what the crime is, but civil, me and you, much less. There's so much fraud. There's so much to go into. But the most important thing is it's what you think in terms of how you act will determine whether you're criminally penalized or civilly penalized.
All right, well, we have to wrap this one up here, but got to talk about what's going on in Washington. Talk to me about obstruction of justice and bring that back, and we'll talk about that.
100%.
And we can get a whole.
We could do
the whole hour, right?
We could.
That's why we bring you in.
That's right.
DL, good to have you, man.
Always seeing you,
David Lesch. Now, listen, if you got any legal concerns, contact David Lesch at davidlesch@bronxnet.org, or you can always send a tweet at Today's Verdict. Taking a quick break, we've got more open. Stay with us, coming right back in a few.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
Glad to have you back. Our next guest is a Queens native who educated himself to become a successful filmmaker and producer. He's also the founder of Validate Yourself Film Festival. We welcome now award-winning writer, director, filmmaker, and producer Antoine Allen to the show.
How you doing?
Good to have you, man.
Pleasure being here.
Hey, great. Listen, we love having award-winning artists up on the show, and you just fall into that category and the great work that you're doing. So for somebody who doesn't know about Antoine Allen, tell us a little bit about you, because you've come from a hard start to making films.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in Queens, Jamaica. I used to be in the music business. I used to manage up-and-coming artists, also direct music videos. And then I just fell in love with film. I did my first short film called Split Decision and won multiple awards. And I just fell in love with it. You know, sometimes it's love at first sight. And then from there, I got into the film world, won a whole bunch of awards. And now, you know, I got my own film festival called Validate Yourself. And I started Validate Yourself to give my people a voice.
And when you talk about giving our people a voice, one of the things that always comes up is opportunity, right? To be able to see, to be able to have your work showcased. And you're giving people an opportunity to have their work showcased who may not necessarily have their work seen in other places.
Yeah, those are important for me because, you know, I paid away and did a lot of work and a lot of things for community. And I said, you know what, instead of me complaining about certain situations, let me create my own. And I think that's something that we all need to get into, because there's going to be things that you don't like, Instead of me complaining, let me start my own. Let's be part of the solution instead of be part of the problem.
And so as you take your own, you start your own, and you start working, what goes behind behind the scenes? Because you talked about being behind the scenes and really having that passion about it. What's the behind the scenes that really fuels you in terms of your work?
Well, just telling a story that people can connect to. You know, I started my festival because as a filmmaker, I was on a festival circuit, and I was winning awards, going overseas, and I was like, this is amazing, but it's not a lot of people that I know, that I see it myself, you know, the underdogs. So I start the festival, validate yourself, and it's always validating yourself. Sometimes we look for everybody else to validate, but the only person you need is a person in the mirror to validate yourself, that's it.
And when you validate yourself, things can happen.
Yes.
You're making things happen for other people. So let's tell people when the festival actually is.
Well, it's this year, September 13th to the 15th. We held it at Emily and Stewart in Brooklyn, New York. And then we show around like 20 to 25 films, features, short films, and web series. And we also, this year, we have something surprise this year. We have a thing called the Monologue Challenge. And it's basically giving upcoming actors the opportunity to perform monologue, and the winner gets a starring role in the film and also $500 in cash.
That's awesome. What are you working on now?
Well, I have a feature film called Lola. It's a female boxing film. We start filming in May, and then that's my pride and joy right now. It's about a female boxer that's trying to find a way in life and use boxing as the catapult to get to where they are in life.
And so, if somebody's actually watching you right now, you talked about working on the music side, right, and helping up-and-coming artists. You making that turn now to go into film. For somebody who wants to do what you do, they see what you're doing, they see, hey, man, this is a career, and a guy who's actually been able to turn the corner. What advice do you give somebody who wants to do this?
Well, the first thing is know what you're getting yourself into. Have confidence in yourself and love yourself. Because you're going to need that internal love and internal power, because when you get into this industry, everybody's going to pull you apart. And the other thing is know the business. A lot of times we want to be in front of the camera, but the power's behind the camera. So know both sides, and also get the right people around you. Having the right team and the right people around you is a plus. Because that day you don't feel like getting up or you feel the struggle, your team going to help you and inspire you to get back up.
So the obvious question is, has there ever been a time when you said, listen, with all this film stuff, I'm trying to do it, it's not really working for me?
Every day. Because this is faith. This is not guaranteed. When you go to work, you know you're getting that check every Friday. But this is like a faith. This is like a magic show. It's a motion roller coaster. But if you keep going, the light at the end of the tunnel is beautiful.
As far as inspiration, you guys, you take a look out there. Who do you see? Who do you watch? Who do you get your inspiration from to do your work?
Underdogs. I love when I see someone that takes something from nothing and turn it into something beautiful, like a Tyler Perry. Tyler Perry is one of my big influences because one thing he has is power. You know, we could do all the projects in front of the camera, but behind the scenes that's what the power. That's why I'm trying to tell people: ownership, owning your stuff, and not being afraid to bet on yourself.
So if you're out there watching right now and you want to find out a little bit about Antoine Allen's work, I want to invite you to check him out and how they go about doing that.
Yeah, go to AntoineAllenFilms.com. All the information there. It's also, you can submit to the Validate Yourself Film Festival. It's open right now. Submit your short film, your web series. If you're an actor, submit your monologue, and bet on yourself and take that chance.
What was the turning point for you to say, you know what, I can do this thing?
Living in Jamaica, Queens, seeing people dying and my area going to jail, it's like, I want more for myself. And I could do it. It's just that I got to better myself because no one's going to bet on you.
Yeah. Antoine Allen's our guest here. We want to thank him for coming and sharing with us.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, man, nice to meet you. Keep up the good work. When the film comes and you do the release, come on back.
I will.
All right?
Yeah.
That's what we're going to do. Now, if you want to find out more about Antoine Allen's work and independent production company, we always encourage you, go to visit AntoineAllenFilms.com. And got to take a quick break here on Open. We're going to be back with more shows. Stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant! Behold, the angry giant!
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
I'll never forget the day our landlord called and said, read your lease. No pets allowed. My owner tells him my dog ate the lease, but that didn't work. And now I'm stuck in a shelter. But this pit bull is ready for a new crib. I'm loving, loyal, and play well with others. So don't be intimidated by all my muscles, because the biggest one I have is my heart. That's right, I said it.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
And we are back. Like Minded People NYC ensures that New Yorkers from the Bronx to Brooklyn take advantage of the cultural wealth in our city by curating art exhibitions, soccer tournaments, picnics, and much more. Here to tell us a little bit more about it are the founders of Like Minded People, Christian Koumtog and Elvin Anjembe, right? I got it, of the Gabonese Council of Resistance, and we welcome you to the show. Good to have you.
Nice.
Christian, welcome back again, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
What's going on these days?
Honestly, we keep doing what we do because there's a great need. There's great diversity in New York, and a lot of times people don't take advantage of a city like New York until you move to, let's say, Nebraska. That's just
right.
To be funny, but yeah, there is initiative. The most current one is our monthly brunch, and it's not just brunch, come and drink, and no, it's the funds are actually sent to provide clean water. Believe it or not, a lot of people, not only in Africa but in Asia, don't have clean water that we take for granted, and even providing better eyesight. So most of the proceed, the brunch will be on Sunday, this Sunday the 31st. I believe the details will be on the screen. Yes,
we got you.
And half of the proceed are sent to provide clean water. Last year was Ghana, the region in Ghana and in Haiti. So that's what we are doing. But overall, like-minded people is about, no pun intended, like-minded people having people of the diaspora. Elvin is from Gabon. I'm from the Republic of Chad. One thing we have in common is we have dictators, we have leaders who hold on to power. Would you believe if I tell you in Chad, we've had the same president, Idriss Déby Itno. He's been in power since December 1990 in Gabon, and she could tell you about Gabon.
Yes, so we had one president in power for 50 years, and then after his death in 2009, his son took over. He was elected. And what we've been trying to do with other countries such as Togo that have the same situation, Chad, just like he mentioned, is really come together as a Pan-African movement and just spread the word about what we're trying to do, about the fact that the reason there is this increase in sub-Saharan African immigration in Western countries is due to the fact that we have to look at the leaders that are there and that are plundering the country, that are mistreating the people, and we're really trying to bring attention to that. And we're trying to bring everyone together because we believe that whatever happens in Africa also impact the image of the black man altogether. So whether it's here in the United States or in France, or the idea is bringing everyone together, Africans and black people of black descent.
Talk to me a little bit about the opportunity of being able to talk to somebody like-minded, having similar situations, right? I just did a story not too long ago about the tragedy going on in Africa right now, and a lot of mainstream media has yet to still catch on to really speak about that, but I'm sure at the table and having your function, you're able to actually bring these issues to the forefront.
Yes. So one thing is economics. Would you, again, believe that almost 14, 15 nations in, we call it France-Afrique, like African countries like Chad, Gabon, Togo, Cote d'Ivoire, who have been colonized by France, are using a money that's not internationally recognized called franc, CFA. It's like that money, you cannot exchange it. If you take the franc and want to exchange in dollars or euro, you cannot. And this is like, it's embarrassing. It's crazy that it's still happening. That's the money most of those nations use. So speaking with different like-minded people, we, first of all, it could be subconscious in nature, bringing people together for that cause, like the unity that's needed to change the way things are, by, again, coming together for soccer tournament, creating unity, picnic, brunches, but also work together and have a long-term vision. And it may not be today or tomorrow that the change occurs, but we are really fighting for that fundamental change that's needed, not only in Africa, but all over the world.
What are you hoping that people take away from the event and having this opportunity to get together?
So we are hoping that just people pay more attention to what's going on in Africa, because we have been facing a lot of hurdles, especially us, because we're coming from French-speaking countries. We have been facing a lot of hurdles. As you mentioned, the media is not necessarily talking about what is going on in Africa to begin with, and then even less so in sub-Saharan countries that are French-speaking specifically. So what we hope is that we can just attract general attention to what's going on in Africa, unite people, and just so that people can understand that it's all correlated. So immigration issue, that the immigration issues, as you can see them, are actually tied to everything else that we're complaining about, and that is, human right abuses going on in Africa. So it's really about just bringing that to everyone's attention and saying, hey, this is a global world now. So it's no longer about just these people in Africa that are suffering. It's really about, this is a problem that is global that we all have to address.
So now, for this and more will be discussed at the brunch. So please, before we get out of here, tell people again about the brunch and how they can be a part.
So you can follow Haven Hands on Instagram, or the Rescue Project on Instagram, or our own like-minded people at LMP NYC, the #1. LMP NYC, like-minded people, #1.
Yeah, you're gonna get that information from me one more time. You just saw the flyer in the event, inviting you to come on out and be a part of the brunch. Thank you guys so much for coming to share.
Thank you.
Gotta come back again.
Thank you,
It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
All righty, listen, now if you want to find out more about like-minded people, yes, you can visit likemindedpeoplenyc.org. Get all the information, including the brunch coming up this weekend. Now, don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more show coming up after this.
Cheru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
thank you so much for staying with us. Girl Boss NYC produces and manages corporate events in our city, and they'll be holding a networking event focused on millennial women entrepreneurs. Whether you're just launching your career or a woman with years of professional experience, this is an event you sure enough don't want to miss. And so joining us now to give us more details is Lauren L. Jones, who is the event strategist and owner of the Girl Boss NYC. Welcome.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Good to have you. And so got the networking event coming and getting people together. And talk to us about the event.
Okay, so the event is happening April 11th in Midtown Manhattan. It's happening at Pearl Studios around 35th Street. So it's an inspiring night of networking for women. We start off with a happy hour, then we're leading our way into workshops that would really benefit new and even established business owners, maybe who've been in business 1 to 2 years. So pretty new, but still have a lot of, learning to do. And then we also have the biggest event, our big pitch competition, where we're giving away $250 to a lucky entrepreneur. So all they have to do is come in, pitch us their company, tell us why they deserve the money, and somebody will be walking away with that cash.
Awesome. So give me a little bit about what businesses need these days, because as you're talking about being a strategist, you talk about small businesses, right? What are some of the challenges that you'll be raising up at the event?
Well, one of the biggest concerns that most entrepreneurs have nowadays is social media. Like, how do I get seen on social media? How do I promote my brand? So that's definitely something that we're going to be discussing, new and innovative ways to reach your audience. And so we're going to be talking about, the effectiveness of live streams, going live on Facebook, going live on Instagram, and how it really gives you an opportunity to have a face-to-face conversation with your customers on a daily basis.
And so for people who want to get connected, want to let you know it's a night of networking on April the 11th from 6 to 9 down at Pearl Studios. And it'll be a Girl Boss networking event that you definitely want to take part of and be a part of. And so when you talk about your reaching across New York City, what kind of a response have you been getting across the city? A lot of people from the Bronx, Brooklyn, all over?
Yes, all over. So we have women coming from Brooklyn, Bronx, Long Island. So really just all over the place. We even have women interested from outside of New York City as well.
Oh, that's awesome. So now listen, if you want to get connected, you'll get the information again at the end. But talk to us about why you started the business in the first place.
It's a really interesting story. In 2009, I was given the opportunity to actually pitch my company to an organization called 100 Urban Entrepreneurs. They were funded by Diddy and also music producer Brian Michael Cox. So I actually received $10,000 to start my business, and that's just how I started with entrepreneurship and just took it from there.
What's the lesson that you want to tell people? I mean, obviously you got some great success, just like our previous guest. But what do you give to somebody who's watching right now saying, hey, this is the line of work I might want to do?
I say, first and foremost, get started. We wait so long and we say, I have to have the perfect website. I have to have 10,000 followers on Instagram. And it's like, no, just get started. Do the groundwork, get out there, start meeting people, and talk about your business.
And so when you say groundwork, that's very important, right?
Yes.
What's the basic groundwork that I need? Because sometimes I think that it is the website. Sometimes I think it is that, I've got to go out here and have all this other stuff. But the reality is there's a whole nother level that I could really be tackling.
Yes, definitely. You need to know who you're targeting. Who is your targeted market? So, you want to sell a product, but you want to make sure that the product that you're selling is geared toward a specific audience. So a lot of time people will have a product, they'll start a business, and they're just talking to everybody. And that's not necessarily who their audience may be. So they have to figure that out first. And also, once you know your target market, get out there, start networking, meet people, always be talking about your business.
And what are some of the common mistakes I think people make doing this?
I think common mistakes is that not enough research. So people get started, let's just say I want to have a t-shirt business. Okay, I'm just going to go print 100 t-shirts. You need to do your research and see what people are interested in. Make sure that you have a concept that people are going to be willing to buy.
So I know all of this and the more will be taking place at the Girls Boss Networking event. I'm just giving a little bit of an appetizer of what will actually be taking place. And it's taking place on Thursday, April the 11th. And people have an opportunity to get connected. I got this quote here. Give me a little bit more about it. Behind every successful woman is a tribe of other women who have their back.
Exactly. I have my sister's back. And so, as solopreneurs, as people who are, entrepreneurs on their own, sometimes it gets lonely. You feel like I don't have anyone who understands me. And if you come to a Girl Boss networking event, you are going to find your tribe. There's women supporting you. They may have expertise in areas that you're struggling with. So we really just work together.
So I want to tell you, Lauren L. Jones, event strategist and owner of NYLO Girl Events, I should say Events Girl Boss NYC, is here with us. And she's been talking about the Girls Boss Networking event. Now, if you want to get connected to it, I'm going to give you the date when we close the segment out. But anything else you want to tell our viewers before we go?
Yes, tickets are still available on Eventbrite. You can also go to www.girlbossnyc.com.
All right. Lauren, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you
Best
so
wishes
very much.
with the event. All right, Girls Boss Networking event one more time. It's taking place Thursday, April 11th from 6 to 9 at Pearl Studios NYC. That's 508th Avenue. And you make your way down there. And if you want to find out more, purchase tickets, be sure to visit girlbossnyc.com. Thank you, Lauren, for coming and sharing with us. And guess what? Thank you for sharing with us. Taking a quick break. We still have more show. Don't go anywhere. Coming right back right after this.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
Open up your books to page 360.
Did you just look at your phone while you was in class? You played yourself.
Talking about inspirational quotes.
You gotta believe in yourself. Don't ever play yourself. The key is to make it, so make it.
Louise, can you give me an example of an inspirational quote?
Don't play yourself. The key is to make it.
And who said that?
I did. Now that's a major key alert.
Learn the real major keys to getting to college at getschool.com.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me. The day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
And we are back. Jumpstart for a Day is an annual event celebrating literacy by highlighting the importance of family and community involvement for a child's academic and lifelong success. And joining us now to tell us a little bit more about the event is Luisana Sagu, Program Manager of Jumpstart for a Day. Good to have you.
Thank you for having me.
So when we talk about this event, obviously literacy is important, right? Talk to us about how the correlation happens and you make this happen.
Yeah, so I'll tell you a little bit about Jumpstart. So we're an early education nonprofit that focuses on early literacy. It's actually our 25th year. So we started in 1994. We're a national organization. So what we do is we recruit and train college students all throughout here in New York City. And we place them in preschool classrooms in under-resourced communities. So we work in Jamaica, Queens, here in the Bronx, in Lower Manhattan, and we also work in East New York. So Jumpstart for a Day, we just pretty much bring the magic of the classroom out into the community. So what we do is our college volunteers who we work with that are typically in the classroom delivering the curriculum, put together all of the materials, and we package up books to give away, and then we bring it out into the community. So we invite families to come out and participate in literacy activities, read alouds, and then we give away 200 backpacks full with free books and activities. And we also invite partner organizations that focus on early education to also come out and table and give out resources to families. So what we do in the classroom is that we train the college students to deliver a curriculum focused on language, literacy, and social emotional development. The purpose of this is to get children kindergarten ready so that they come into kindergarten and they're ready just like their peers that maybe had more opportunities than they did. So we do that by reading to them and doing different activities in the classroom that expose them to other things that children of more affluent communities are exposed to on a daily basis.
And you've had recent success, of course, last year at Koumtog Park. Talk to us about the public turnout and how things worked out.
Yeah, so last year we had about 50 families come out. We do this event all throughout New York City. So we did it at Koumtog Park, we did it at Rufus King Park, we did one in Seward Park in Lower Manhattan. And so we did have a great turnout. The families are always really happy. They get to take away a ton of free books for their children. They get to do a bunch of fun activities. We have other organizations. We have You Got Active Kids coming this year, so they do a fun dance activity with the kids, so that's always a lot of fun. And of course, our college students from Lehman, Monroe, Fordham all come out and participate in the activities, so it's always a lot of fun.
And you get, as I was going to say, you have the public participation of these local college students. What's it like for them being a part of this and matching up with kids?
Yeah, oh, they have so much fun. They're already in the classroom and working with the kids, so we actually have them working on materials preparation right now to get them ready for the event. So they're preparing all of the activities and packaging up the books and the backpacks, so they're super pumped and excited already. And then coming out and seeing what they created and getting to put it out to the children and get to participate with them, they have a ton of fun.
So let's give people, date and time about the event, where it's taking place.
Yeah, so this year we changed the location, St. Mary's Park. It's a little bit closer to the train, easier access. So it's April 13th from 12 to 3 p.m.
So, and we'll give that information again at the end of the segment, so that way, if you missed it, we'll bring it back to you a little bit later on. Give me a little bit about the importance of early literacy, because that's important. I mean, getting to a child early has always been proven as being one of the most successful things that a person can do. So
yeah, so we, that's why Jumpstart was founded. If they're not reading by third grade at the level that they're supposed to be reading, then they're 4 times more likely to actually drop out of high school. So it's very, very important, and it exposes them to so many different things that, books just expose you to things that you may not be able to experience in your daily life. If you don't get to travel, you can travel through a book, and so it's very important and makes a big impact in their life, especially starting early on. And you see the difference of when they get into kindergarten, they already have those skills that they need to succeed.
Louisan, thank you so much for coming and sharing with us. I want to give people the information. I'm going to give it to her at the end. But thank you again.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and she reminded me, she said, we were here last year. I mean, it's an annual event, and it definitely has been successful. Jumpstart for a Day is going to be taking place this year, Saturday, April 13th, from 12 to 3 p.m. at St. Mary's Park Playground. Now, if you do want more information, you can send your email, and there you can do it at the site right there. And we'll be back with more on Open. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this. we've introduced you to a lot of events here on Open, and this next one, a spiritual one. Call to Lead is a conference for those who are in leadership to learn and share keys to becoming an effective leader. Now, here to discuss Call to Lead is the Reverend Dr. Samuel E. Trusty Sr., who's the pastor at Loyal Baptist Church, and he's been the pastor there for the last 14 years. And Pastor Trusty, thank you so much for being with us.
Good to be here.
So give us a little bit about your conference. You've got something called Call to Lead. And so when we talk about leaders, what kind of leaders are you talking about?
Talking about disciple-making leadership. A lot of churches have difficulty with leadership. And you have some great preachers, but they're not great leaders. And so if you're not a great leader, it's difficult for you to create leaders within the congregations. So for the last 14 years, I've been teaching for the United Missionary Baptist Association, for the Empire State Convention, and I also do workshops and conferences with ministers' conferences. And I have learned that there is a void of those who understand effective leadership. So I came up with this concept after studying evangelism, after studying discipleship. I learned that in order for a church to be able to implement these spiritual things, they must have a leader who understands what discipleship means. And so here, what I will be sharing on this coming Saturdays is the keys to transformational leadership with the focus on disciple-making leadership, which will help leaders. Some leaders, they implement organizational leadership, which is a secular concept. Relational leadership, which is a secular concept. Well, I want to get them to transition and transform their leadership to a biblical leadership, which is laid out by Jesus Christ, which is discipleship leadership.
And so people who will be taking part in this, is taking place this Saturday, right?
Yes.
March the 30th at 2 p.m. And who's welcome to come?
Well, all people are welcome to come. Loyal Baptist Church, we have annual leadership, but since I have gotten a great response and some people are interested in the teaching that I have done across the state, we have opened it up to both the church and to outsiders.
And so for people who've taken part of your leadership training, what's the biggest takeaway you think they're getting from it?
They're getting a better understanding of leadership. They'll get a better understanding of evangelism. They get a better understanding of discipleship. And they get a better understanding of how to lead as a disciple maker, which is producing other leaders who carry this concept, implement these concepts, and do the outreach to others inside the church as well as outside the church.
And so for 14 years, you've been the pastor there, and talk to us about how that leadership has transformed for you. I mean, how's the transformation process been for you in becoming that leader that now teaches leaders?
Well, when I came there, it was a very traditional church, and they were very rigid in their tradition, and they didn't like outsiders, which is new members, or they didn't like change, which is how we're supposed to transition. And not all change is bad. So what I had to do as a young pastor, I had to understand the dynamics of leadership, and I also had to understand how to transition people from secular concepts in the church to get them to become more spiritually focused, and as well as leading others to become spiritual minded.
So what do you find is the biggest obstacle these days when it comes to leadership?
The biggest obstacle to leadership is the lack of understanding of leadership, and then also the resistance to change, as well as understanding what is the purpose and plan for a leader as God has it in the Bible.
So how would you define a leader from your perspective? What would make a good leader?
A good leader is a follower of Jesus Christ, and he is a learner. A leader is a learner. And from leading and learning, you are fulfilling your purpose, which is understanding how evangelism works and how discipleship works. They work hand in hand. Evangelism allows you to proclaim the good news of Jesus Christ. But the discipleship is how you get that new convert to grow. A lot of churches fail in that because leadership thinks that evangelism and discipleships are events. Actually, they are engaging the old members as well as the new members in growing in the teachings of Jesus Christ.
So people don't know where Loyal Baptist Church is, tell us.
Loyal Baptist Church is on right there on 167th Street. It's been there for quite a while. We're going on 65 years in ministry, and it's open. It's a very warm place to come and to worship. We preach and we teach, and we lift up the name of Jesus Christ.
And then, of course, on March the 30th, you'll have your Call to Lead conference. And so for people who want to be taking part in Call to Lead, what do they do?
They have to sign up from our from our Facebook page. We have an event that's there. They can just register right there, and then they can contact Takesha Brown from there. Her information is there, and they can come and be a part of it.
All righty. Well, thank you so much. And we've got the Reverend Dr. Samuel E. Trusty Sr., who's the pastor at the Loyal Baptist Church, talking about the Call to Lead conference. And thank you so much for coming and being with us.
Thanks for being here.
All righty. Listen, Call to Lead is going to be taking place again this Saturday. And we're looking forward to those people who come out to the Loyal Baptist Church, 881 East 167th Street, or you can visit the Loyal Baptist Church on Facebook. Now, for more information, that's what you can do. Now, unfortunately, we've come to the end of our show today. I'd like to thank all of our guests for joining us. Most of all, you, the viewer, for tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recablecast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Optimum's Channel 67. If you're on Verizon Fios, Channel 33, or watch us anytime on the web at bronxnet.org. And again, a special shout out to all those who are watching on MNN. Good to say hello to my sister Ann, and all those who are watching on MNN who watch as Open is broadcast live simultaneously here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. That wraps up for us here on the show. Daren Jaime, make sure you keep this channel wide open. Take care. God bless.
Why don't you ever see elephants hiding in trees? Because they're really good at it. Yeah, I get it.